Hello and thank you for joining Journalist Hangout on Sunday. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. Today on the program, Homesick Nigerian soldiers lament to Army Chief say they want to return home as Tucano Jets arrive in July. Power Minister speaks on Mambilla, Kashimbila hydropower projects, says exploratory work on Mambilla has begun. Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority backs Ogun State Government Cargo Airport. And later on the show, Southeast, South-South leaders reject PDP's panel reports, insists on power shift in 2023. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Gani Kaide Balogun, who is a year older today. Happy birthday, GKB. That's Osi Are Onokakanfo. Happy birthday, GKB.
Happy birthday.
Wish you many more prosperous years, and we hope the Are we organize something, throw a big party and call GHQ today.
And I said that he's sure that the journalist Hangout crew will do the needful.
after he has done it, so.
No, one step at a time.
Welcome back. North, south, east, or west, they say home is sweet. Homesick and weary Nigerian soldiers have lamented to the Chief of Army Staff, that's Lieutenant General Ibrahim Atairu, about their long stay at the theater of war in the northeast. They say they long to return home. Meanwhile, a morale-boosting news in the war against insurgency is that the long-awaited Super Tucano aircraft will arrive in July. But actually, we've spoken about this, and I think the military is like overstretched, because I see no reason why people will be allowed to stay in war front for as long as 6 months, 1 year, without seeing their families. And some of them, I'm sure some of them, they're even missing in action now. Their family don't even know their whereabouts right now.
Yeah, status, yeah.
Yes, people can stay 1 year, even 2 years, 3 years. But we are talking about people who have been there for 5 years.
I can't even
5 years.
For 5 years.
5 years is a long time.
The torture, the mental torture, the psychological.
In fact, it's difficult to take for anyone. To be in the same country, yet you can't see your people, you can't see your child. Some of them, their wives will give birth, they won't see the offspring until very long after. There's no way they won't feel homesick. Yes, they are fighting for their fatherland and they are patriotic.
You know the kind of sleep you can sleep at home.
You must find a way to rotate. And I think when the Chief of Army Staff went to see some of the troops in one of the super camps after the capture of Marte by Boko Haram, he told them that he was going to do something about their concern, because they actually told him that a lot of them were due for transfer from that theater of war to somewhere else. What usually manifests when you fail to rotate troops on time is their morale will be very low. They can't give their best. They become frustrated.
Yes.
They turn their guns against their colleagues. We saw it. It happened in Iraq. It happened in Afghanistan. You start having what you call
we have the friendly fire happening in Nigeria.
Yes, I was coming to that. A soldier who killed 3 of his colleagues the other day in Yola had already stayed in that place for about 4 years. The other one killed his colleagues again in, I think, Malamfatori or so. He killed his colleagues and then took his own life. That one too had been there for about 4 years plus. So all kinds of frustrations come with this war. This is the sort of war that you can't even explain. What really is the mission of these Boko Haram fighters is difficult to say. Now we are losing our troops. A lot of them have seen their best friend lost to this war, and they've stayed for 4 years. The Chief of Army Staff now has to take a good look at the postings. He has made postings in respect of the officer, Keda, very senior army officers. He made the postings immediately after he was decorated with his rank of lieutenant general. And now he has to go further down, look at the junior officers, and do something about those who had stayed for too long. A time will come when diminishing return will set in. Maybe that's why we're even having some of these setbacks. A situation in which soldiers are reluctant to give their best, they are reluctant to fight. If we are saying some soldiers fled from Dikwa, you know, although I'm happy that they've brought them back, because people complain and know that they've decided to. It may not sometimes be because of lack of weapons to fight. If the morale is low, and morale being low is not simply a function of money or inadequate salary. If you are away from your loved ones for too long, you become extremely homesick, you feel like living. And we have had situations in which some soldiers decided that they were going to throw in the towel. Before we start having a cascade of resignations or desertions from the army, the chief of army staff has to sit down with his team and do what is right. Rotate these guys, get them to go and serve somewhere else. That's a form of reward even for their gallantry, for their efforts in the Northeast, and bring in other people to replace them. No matter how good a soldier is, no matter how committed a soldier is.
There's a breaking point.
Yes, a time will come when the dam will break. And we don't want the dam to break. We don't want the dam of emotions now, as it affects our soldiers, to break, because the consequences will be terrible for everyone.
GKB, having it in mind that even if you are at this theater of war, the kind of sleep you can sleep at home, you cannot sleep at the theater of war. You have to be alert, red alert. That means you must have a sleep, or you can't even sleep. Sometimes they will even be rotating, they'll be manning century and they'll be rotating for 4 hours, 3 hours. And so
you don't even have to be on the war front. You and I have traveled a lot and we know how we feel a few days outside of our home. And then we just want to go home. It may be the best accommodation in the world. But after a while, that your rackety bed will look like a paradise. When you're away. So not to talk of soldiers. Throughout history, the top duty is usually well defined in military combat like this. Because since the Vietnam War, military psychologists have realized that the breaking point of the average soldier is about 36 months. That's the average point. Some people can last far longer. Some people can last less. But the average is 30. That's about 3 years. So the most armies in terms of war try to rotate, they are attached to it. Basically, that they know that after you reach your breaking point and you are still forced into combat, chances are you will turn against your own team. That to me is the fair. Then number two, what we have not done. Nigeria Army is the best on the continent. I will say that anywhere. But we've not treated this war as a war. So the recruitment level that is required to keep our soldier in that particular loop of being replaced and being rotated are no longer possible at the theoretical level.
They are stretched now.
Yeah, Nigeria is so big and our armed forces are so that it becomes a problem to even take people away from theater of war for a longer period than is required. And that's the danger here. One thing is for our team not to have morale. That is a given. The other point is the fact that a soldier without morale, without support, and without the fact that he knows there's an exit date to his dot of duty, will do the very worst.
Another point there is that, beyond morale being low, we also have information to that effect that sometimes these people, they don't get paid their meager allowances on time. These are frontline people that were meant to give priority. They are not meant to go through any bureaucracy before they get paid what they're entitled to.
Yeah, the Nigerian system is always at play when we are talking about things like this. I remember the former chief of army staff used to go and get money through other sources just to pay soldiers, because the ministry will not release money on time for these guys to be paid. And I remember, I think it was December 2019 or so, when the Chief of Army Staff sensed that a delay had set in. He had to do the needful, he had to go and look for money from other sources to get soldiers paid. We can't continue like that. People, these civil servants, these bureaucrats must realize that these soldiers are laying down their lives for every one of us to keep the rest of us safe. There should be no reason in the world where the salaries of soldiers, their wages, their allowances will be delayed. And we are saying, look, let's even increase the allowances of these guys. Some people in government are happy that, okay, based on the way the NSAS thing ended, those demands that were made, nobody is talking about them anymore. Yes, those young people misbehaved in the final analysis, and everything that they thought they were fighting for, no one is talking about it. That's a lesson for them to learn, that when the ovation is loudest, that is where you quit.
And always stay focused to your demands.
Yes, you made 5 demands at a point when it looked like government was going to acquiesce to those demands, and you saw signs that they were ready this time around. They set up a committee, to look at those demands and how to reform the police.
Since governors set up panels across the country.
Then you began to make other demands. You thought that was the means to something else.
Call for a regime change.
Yes, so in the end, all of those demands, including the legitimate demand.
Yeah.
So the people who always think that NSAS thing was such a bad thing, they forgot, or they can't reason deeply to know that a demand for better pay for police, which was an important kernel of their demands, was a legitimate demand. They don't talk about it. They want to see the thing as purely everything that was bad. You even see some people talk to me to say, you are fond of supporting the wrong people. That's how they went and burnt your office. Silliness, silly argument that they make, that they will think they are making sense. The truth is, a demand for better wages for not just the army, but not just the police, but the armed forces. Because we, the noisemakers, can't do what they do. We can't get ourselves to take the risk that they take. So anyone who makes a demand in respect of better emoluments for them has made a very good demand. And that kind of demand should not be wished away. So whether we do not have NSAS or not, we should remember that they demanded for better pay for police. If you want a better police, a police that will not wink at corruption, if you want a better armed forces, where the people are prepared to die for their country at all times, given any situation, you should be thinking about the best wages for them, insurance package for them as well, that will make them feel like, well, if I die, I have not died in vain. Then, of course, even when soldiers get injured, how do we treat them? Do we simply dump them at 44 Referral Hospital in Kaduna, where they rot away? What do we do when soldiers die? What is the policy? Do we simply go, after a few months, go to the barracks to evict their family members? So these are issues, and nobody needs.
We even imagine that some of us, that when they want to even call maybe local flights, and when you have a Marine, they give them priority, they call them first, and you even see people camping want to sign autographs with them, want to snap with them and everything. It's always a thing of pride. And, but the disdain that we treat our servicemen, they are meant to take number one from the front seats anywhere. But look at their barracks, look at where they live. That says a lot about the kind of welfare they give to them. So another Nigerian, a young man cannot grow up now to say, oh, I want to be a soldier. And, in those days when we were growing up, if you say Nigerian Defense Academy, we all want to enroll for NDA because we know the prestige and everything, but it's no longer like that again.
Well, the rot is across the board, but it's more noticeable in the security forces because for a long period, we just assume that they had the best of everything. Like during the military era. Don't forget there was a time that the only time you see a soldier is when something is happening and it must be in full uniform with the parasite and everything on his chest. I think what we need to do is not rocket science. There are statutory rules that govern increment in salary of these officers. Most of them have been ignored in the past. That's why even to get the minimum wage is a big challenge in our country. What we need to do now, which is very clear, like Jide said, is to start up a structure that does not require individuals to make any other inputs to things that are set in stone. For example, if you join the army or anything, you must know that after X number of years, this is what you'll be earning. And then your insurance covers you and your family to this amount. So people will say that patriotism has no price. But the insurance of the person putting his life on the line is key. And that's the price you pay, because you cannot be laying down your life for your country and the thing will not be commensurated within the context of what your family will enjoy. A lot of people cannot, for the life of them, put their life in danger for even their neighbors. But these people are putting their lives in danger for the entire country. There is a need, and urgently too, that whatever demands that the ancestors people had made, before it becomes 1 year anniversary, they will now go back and start telling stories. Let everything be set in stone. If you have to go to National Assembly, let's go to National Assembly. These things will be done on time so that what we have achieved will not be in vain.
Babajide, still talking about security, it has degenerated so much that, we find it difficult. Nobody is safe again. Yeah. Because if a whole chief executive of a state, I was listening to him, the press conference very early this morning, so like 4 a.m., listening to Governor Tom, addressing the press, and I was like, wow. He said they were wearing black. It was a deliberate attempt. He said he ran 1.5 kilometers. That thank God that he is fit, that he had to run.
Can you imagine?
1.5 kilometers, yes. That was panting. His aides were combating them, and he was running as fast as he could. And I was like, wow. That means he had to disembark from the vehicle. It took
somebody was saying that, you came down from a bulletproof car and started running. If you are surrounded, because people don't think before they talk, if you are surrounded by a fighting group, they have all kinds of weapons, they have petrol, they have in that car they can set you ablaze right inside that car. This is something that I've read about it. It happened.
They can carry the whole cars. They can carry the vehicle.
I've read it happen. The person didn't come down. He was in a bulletproof car. They set it ablaze. So sometimes you tell yourself that, look, maybe this is the best thing to do. You use your intuition. Maybe this is the best thing to do. One thing that we must, for some people who are dismissing what Tom said, in 2010 or so, Governor Suswam was attacked. We have that video. It was even, you remember our reporter back then, Doshima Abu, was the one who did a story about herdsmen attacking Benue communities. Governor Suswam's convoy was attacked. The governor took to his heels. He's a senator now, he's listening to me. He knows I'm not saying, I'm not lying, because I was in Benue when it happened. The governor and his convoy had to retreat. Because how many people actually guide the governor? You saw the Nasarawa governor come under attack, and some of his guards, I think many of his guards were killed. This Nasarawa deputy governor. It didn't happen a long time ago. We have seen Governor Rotimi Akeredolu come under attack. Nobody can deny that. In fact, one of the reasons the governor is insistent on Amotekun was because he came under attack. No one can deny that. So Otom is not the first governor to come under attack. So to simply dismiss it like, oh, he lied, it's a silly thing to do. Arakuni Kedolu is alive, he was attacked, and it was well reported.
So that means
his men had to face them head on. So we have reached a stage in which anybody can be attacked.
Ordinary Nigerians that just went farming.
How many people guard a governor? In most cases, they are not even up to 30. What are we talking about? If those who attack the governor, if they were more than that, okay, how many times has the governor of Borno State come under attack? Has his convoy not been attacked? Some of us who are his friends, we've had to tell him that, look, calm down. Now the governor goes to some places by air. Because they've killed many of his guards, killed many of his police people. So are we going to deny that we are aware that Governor Zulum has come under attack a number of times?
Severely.
So it's not a new thing again in our country that a governor has come under attack. It's not a new thing. It can happen. So the silliness of trying to make it look like he lied or this thing is just trying to blow something out of proportion has to stop. People should stop and should start engaging their brains. Because even in some of his colleagues, the reality on ground is that security has collapsed in our country. We've got to admit that. I've always said that when you fail to admit that there's a problem, or you simply want to hush up a problem, you simply want to gloss over a problem, then you are not prepared to solve the problem.
He said they wanted to abduct him, as in kill his guards, abduct him, and make him die slowly. As in, they wanted to catch him alive.
Before now, he had even said that he knew that some people were after him.
Yes.
He had said that before. And he's not the first governor to even escape assassination in our country. So what is the issue? The issue is, let us secure our country. If you listen to Stan Labo the other day, the way he was speaking, Stan Labo had completely lost it. He said, what's going on? Are we giving people impression that we have an armed forces that can't deal with these enemies of our country? Yes, he was angry. And you know, even on this program, had been as hungry. Had been as hungry as he is in the past. Because we just ask yourself, what's going on? Are we resigning to fate? Telling ourselves that we cannot defeat these felons? And the more you do it, the more they feel emboldened, and they will now be going after big people.
Yes, that's what's happening now.
Boko Haram has the capacity to abduct a governor. I'm saying it. I'm saying it. A fighting group
can abduct.
They've been abducting soldiers.
Army base, a whole army base.
3 army bases in one day, in one location, overrun
with ammunition.
They have overrun 3 army bases. So who is a governor that Boko Haram cannot abduct? And we've been told that they've moved to the North Central. Even the IG said it by himself. It's not me saying it. It's not fiction. The IG said Boko Haram is now in the North Central. Even the boys, the bandits who kidnapped the Kankara boys, they were paying tribute to Shekau in their video. Those who watch that video from beginning to the end, they will hear where they were paying tribute to Shekau. So what are we talking about? Okay. Instead of us to address the problem, we'll be behaving like those problems are not there. People who want to solve a problem, they don't behave like that.
All right. Now, amidst fresh attacks by bandits, the issue of negotiation with them is still, still on. Majority leader in the House of Representatives, that is Honorable Al-Hassan Adodogwa, spoke with Babajide Kolade Otitoju on this raging issue.
Some people say that we should grant amnesty to bandits. Shegumi especially has been saying that bandits should not be demonized, that if coup plotters can be pardoned, that bandits should also be pardoned. Where do you stand?
I'm afraid. Gumi is a Malam. Gumi is perhaps more knowledgeable than me in Islamic knowledge. But myself being an ordinary person with a very little measure of Islamic education, and perhaps also very little exposure compared to Gumi as a scholar, I don't look at it that way. As far as I know, that lives, security of lives and property of our people is a supreme responsibility of the government. And at any point when government does not provide or fail to provide that security of lives and property of the people, that is a major question mark on that government. It is my personal opinion. I may be right or wrong, but I hold to the opinion, the fact that yes, life cannot go for free. If anybody is coming out to challenge the government in terms of providing security for our people lawfully, somebody coming to kidnap people and ask for ransom, someone without reason coming to kill on the street, someone going into armed robbery, my brother, even in Islam, I can quote that there is a verse in the Holy Quran that says, life for life, hand for hand, an eye for an eye, nose for nose. There is that quotation in the Holy Quran. So with my own little knowledge of Islam, and with my very little exposure, and perhaps because I'm a public officer, I think the fight against banditry should be sacrosanct. And there should be no ground whatsoever, Babajide, when you now begin to join on a round table discussions with people who have decided to be criminals for no reasons. Nigeria is a home that we must have to make safe for every living to live and let live. Yes. And as long as bandits do not allow free citizens to live and let others live, then finally at the end, whoever is caught responsible for this kind of thing, I think should pay for that price. So, it's not a good idea to be very open. It's not a good idea you engage criminals into any negotiation or whatever. That will automatically undermine the responsibility of a state. A state has to really provide that supreme service, that sacrosanct service of protection of lives and property without any compromise whatsoever.
Member of House of Rep, Honorable Al-Hassan Adodoguan, now speaking on what should be done about this, the most thriving business in the country right now.
The bandit economy.
Because I don't know the business that can give you that kind of returns without doing anything.
Yes.
It's just,
even with little effort. Let's not say they are not doing it. Because it's not easy to go and kidnap 300 people.
To bring
it's also
little effort.
It's also an emotional crime. So which means that you tap into the emotions of people in such a way that normally if it's to take somebody's car. But you're talking about human life. People will do anything.
I think Nigerians are now, coming to terms that look, we don't need to listen to the likes of Sheikh Gumi, as in to try attempt to negotiate with these people.
Yes.
That we have to show strength. Even if we are going to do anything later, we have to show strength first, wipe some of them out, and so that we send the necessary signals to these guys.
Well, the only reason why government is in place was for the protection of lives and property. They have no other job. That's the only job they're employed to do. And once you failed in that particular job, your own legitimacy comes into question. That's number one. Number two, even if you have people who are trying to destroy the system, you must also show the capacity to deal with them. But we've not shown either the willingness to assert that authority or the capacity to force people to bend to our will. And it's the failure of these two principal points that is leading to this becoming an economic issue. Because people no longer fear government or its ability to hold people for consequences of the action. And that's the danger. Throughout people are now saying that if you should do what they call the citizens arrest, and you take the people to the police, chances are you will be charged for crimes that they will not charge the criminal for. So the people that should be helping the law enforcement officers with intelligence and with assertion are now becoming victims.
A case study with the old PC guys that arrested Wakil.
There are people who saw people that said that this man is a criminal, and the people in the neighborhood said they know this man has been terrorizing them. The man was arrested, and under the law, they were duly handed over to the police. The police now arrested them for arson. It is that funny. That signal is the fact that nobody will go out of
discourage everybody
to help the police or the law enforcement officers.
To give information to
even help them now when they are shortfall in personnel. Because sometimes police may be willing, they may not have the facilities or the manpower. And these are the local people that they will now use basically as a tool to get this thing done. Either we are not ready to solve this problem, or we are incapable.
Or we are incompetent.
Or we are capable of solving this problem. The issue of incompetence, I think we've solved that 2 or 3 years.
Adodoguan did not mean word about it.
Yes.
is, look, this is, it's not good. We need to go all out.
Yes, no doubt about it. And I think Adodogwa's position is becoming really popular. In the past, I could have suggested that, look, in the interest of peace, let's find a way to talk to these guys. I've heard people say, oh, you cannot defeat an insurgency. It's people with little knowledge of history who talk like that, because we can tell them countries that defeated insurgency, refused to negotiate and defeated insurgency. Sri Lanka is one of those countries. Algeria is one of those countries. I once sat with a soldier who was telling me, I said, no, sir. Sri Lanka defeated Tamil Tigers.
Cambodia.
Yet they fought for more than 20 years, but they defeated them. So don't tell us that insurgency cannot be defeated. And the point that I'm making is, these bandits who are holding our country by the jugular, they can also be defeated. But we have to be very, very determined. We must have the right strategy. It's not an EJ kind of thing. Oh, let's try this. If this doesn't work, we'll try another one. That's what the Yorubas from Ibadan, that's what they call the EJ. No, that's not what we are saying. You must have a definitive strategy. I'm yet to see that strategy by which we want to exterminate these characters. And they are disgracing everybody, disgracing our nation. So the question is, are we going to continue like this? Look at Katsina. Just this weekend, a family attacked the family, just slaughtered them.
Jude, and finally on this, you know, as we're not talking about, we've said it earlier that the military, even the leaders, they are aware of the locations of these guys.
Yes.
So, even though if you don't have to take them on, but you know, if you don't have to send infantry soldiers there, one thing that can help us is the super Tucano aircraft that we're expecting. That will go a long way. So it could give us a precision-guided assault on them and just clear them from anywhere they are. Now, this Tucano, we're told now, will come July.
Let's leave Tucano for now. Let's address the elephant in the room. We will not have to wait till July to defeat bandits who are killing our people daily. We don't know what school they are going to next. Ayo, that is the elephant in the room. Yeah. Let's deal with that one. What are our armed forces doing? Are we saying that, oh, our life is full, I mean, our survival is dependent on the arrival of the Tucanos? No. No country builds its armed forces on one major killing machine. No. And I don't think that it has that level of capability that we are giving it. That's why I'm saying, let's leave the Tucano matter and address this issue of when are we going to launch a full-scale military assault on these guys? Because that's what Nigerians are waiting for. That's what they are waiting for. Every day they hear stories that people have been kidnapped, people have been killed in Katsina, the president's home state, and all that. They are waiting and hoping that we will be able to find a solution to this. If we let Nigerians become despondent, there are many people who still have faith in this country. Insecurity is making many people to lose faith in our country, and I hope the president realizes that.
At the highest level.
Yes, more and more people are even leaving this country, not just because of the need for better living, but because of security. I've mentioned before the case of a guy that I knew was earning more than $1 million a month here.
He migrated.
He decided to go. I've also spoken about ordinary wedding in Ibadan here. Some bank staff, they had a series of meetings before they agreed. It's the colleague wedding before they now agreed that, okay, we will go. Ibadan here. And this place is still safe. So if it were Kaduna, for example, what would we be talking about? If it was the Northeast, what would we be talking about? People value their lives.
I'm sure you know that we have IDPs from Yewa in the Republic of Benin right now.
Yes. Yes.
Nigerians are IDPs in the Republic of Benin. there is no more visuals to show how incompetent we are to protect ourselves, that the vice president's home state, people have to leave it and go to another country to feel safe.
Because of attack by some criminal headsmen.
Because people are attacking them and nothing was being done. There was something on TVC that showed the path that these people took to the village. It was well lined up. And they were pointing to the reporter that that's the place where these people are. And in that same state, we have military barracks, we have police barracks, we have even a naval school. And yet they could not go there to do this stuff. They could not protect the people. They could not protect, and the people are pointing to the place. They say after that tree, that's where the Fulani people are. And they come at night to burn this place and steal. It was on television. In some countries, the very next day that place will be sacked. We can give examples.
The thing is, as we always say, and crime does not know ethnicity.
At all.
But whichever ethnicity you belong to, you have no right to kill anyone.
Anybody.
And where you show that you are an enemy of the state, no matter the ethnicity that you belong to, the armed forces, the law enforcement agents must do their work. That is the least that is expected of them. It is a shame that Nigerians are now IDPs in different countries of the world. They are IDPs in Niger, they are IDPs in Niger, they are in Chad, in Cameroon.
In Burkina Faso.
No, I'm even saying Burkina Faso is far away. Those ones are not probably IDPs who ran away because of war. I said our neighboring countries.
Wow.
We have IDPs that Boko Haram chased to Niger, chased to Chad, chased to Cameroon.
And now bandits.
Bandits
in Ogun West.
Have chased people from Yewa area to Republic of Benin. It's shameful. Something must give.
All right. Moving on now. Nigeria's perennial electricity problem may ease soon when some ongoing power projects are delivered. The Minister of Power, Saleh Maman, who spoke with Babajide Kolade Soju on the Mambilla and the Kashimbila hydropower project, says the exploratory work on the Mambilla has begun. Let's hear him.
The Mambilla Power Project is a project that you have said is dear to your heart. It is located in the heart of your state. It has been abandoned for many years, and you said you would like to do your best to ensure that it comes on stream during your time. What can you tell us about the Mambilla project at this time?
As you rightly said, we are doing our best. Don't forget, this thing has been lingering for over 40 years. For the first time, the work has commenced and the land has been secured. Surveyors are on the field right now. Land survey is going on, and then the aerial survey is also going on. The remuneration at the same time is ongoing. So we are making a progress.
What are some of the advantages that we would derive from having the Mambilla plant come on stream?
Of course, by the time it's completed, we are going to have a difference of almost 30 to 35% increase in our capacity of generation, total capacity of generation to the national grid.
Okay. Let's talk about Kashimbila as well. Kashimbila was started by the former administration. You have come to complete it. In what stage are we, and when can we expect that Kashimbila will begin to contribute to our overall generation capacity?
Well, Kashimbila is almost 100% completed by now. I want to assure you it has been completed. All that is remaining is now how to take the load to the national grid.
Yes.
We are now on it, and the contract has been awarded for the transmission line that will evacuate the generated capacity, that is the 40 megawatts, then to the national grid.
Meanwhile, Babajide also spoke with the Director of Renewable Energy Access in the Ministry of Power, Engineer Yusuf Yabo, who threw more light on the Mambila project. He explained that the initial scope of the project has been reviewed to ensure that it takes off on time.
I'm particularly keen about seeing the success of the Mambila hydropower plant. I went to the site in 2019. I want you to explain to our viewers at what stage we are now with that with the Mambila power project.
Thank you very much again, Jide, for this very important question. As you know, I'm the chairman of the Mambila Hydropower Project Delivery Committee. This is one of the two committees that were established in February of this year by His Excellency Mr. President. The other committee is the high-level committee of ministers, which is chaired by the Honorable Minister Engineer Lament. And the mandate the two committees have, we as the supporting committee to the ministerial committee, is to address those issues that have kept the Mambila Hydro project on the drawing board in the last 40 years. And so the idea is, why have Mambila not been able to pick up or to start in the way it should have started? And of course, the second question, and the genuine one for that matter, from Nigeria, is why are we even talking about Mambila 40 years on? Why don't we just move in if we can do it? I would like to start by answering the first question, which is why Mambila? You see, Mambila is a very unique treasure that this country has. Now, globally, there are few locations in the world where you find something like you have in Mambila. You have a latitude, a plateau that is almost 2 kilometers high. To say, for instance, a Zuma rock, 20 kind of Zuma rock high up. And when you go up, you have at least 3,500 square kilometers of flat land there. Now, what that does is it allows you to do what is the real import of hydropower, which is you have the head, the height, and then you have the water. Don't forget, Mambila has the highest rainfall in the country, almost 2,000 millimeters, as against around 300 millimeters in Abuja.
Wow.
So they mixed up the very high head, the good potential for setting up dams, reservoirs up, and the enormous rainfall that falls there makes it a natural treasure to be able to set up a hydropower project. And so, starting off from there, Mr. President, in his wisdom, decided that we should have to determine exactly why is Mambila not going. And our targets were mainly to ensure and validate the bankability of this project, which has become an issue. Bankability simply means the technical feasibility of the project, the economic viability of the project, and the financial profitability of the project. Now, of course, there are social, environmental, and other related issues around this project. So one of the first things we've done is to weigh the current situation in the market, electricity market. When the project was initially conceived, we were not in the privatized era. So government can decide to do a project and do a kilowatt hour for 50 cents or for 500 naira. But today the market is such a situation where there are a number of market participants. So any drop or any electron of electricity that goes into the network has to be accounted for, has to be paid for. So one of the things that we've noticed, based on all the studies that have been done, starting from the Lament study, over from the DAM studies in 1980s, to Lamia studies in the mid-2000s, to even the DeCrown's study in the 2011 and 2018, one common thing was that they have seen this project as a picking plant, which means more or less an emergency plant that needs very high capacity, so that if there is imbalance in the system, it will rush in and balance it. Now, that comes with very high cost, because here you are with a high capacity that you can't run all year through because of the plant factor. So one of the key things we've been able to accomplish is to review the entire project design and come up with a economically viable tariff structure. Before now, under the existing structure, the tariff would have been at least $13. But what we have been able to do as a project delivery committee is to review, working with the consultant on the project, working with the lenders, that's the Exim Bank of China, and the contractors, to say, look, this is a market. This is no more going to be a free-for-all kind of arrangement. And so on that basis, we have been able to successfully redesign the project to a bankable level that even the lenders can see that the tariffs are acceptable and they can be able to be used to repay their loans. Another issue that we've been able to accomplish is the issue of the land. Okay. Until recently, with the intervention of the Honorable Minister Engineer Salim Mamman, working closely with His Excellency the Executive Governor of Taraba State, Architect Darius Isiaku, they had worked as a team of brothers to be able to come up with the most optimal way of taking over the land, because don't forget, the land belongs to communities, to the states, to local government, and so on. And so the first thing we did was to sign an MOU with the Taraba State government that will allow for us to have a seamless engagement in the takeover of the titles of the land. We've also encouraged the host communities to set up association. And as we speak today, the survey of the land is been virtually completed. The reports are being put together, but the ground survey and the aerial surveys and enumerators who will go in and determine exact value of compensation to be paid is actually being put together. In fact, the contractors the enumerators have been to site. Yes. Their files have just come in back from the minister with an approval to pay them 30% of their entitlement based on the report they've sent. So things are really moving in the right direction with the issue of getting the lands. Okay. Of course, we have been engaging with stakeholders. You may be aware that one of the most important things about the project is the economics. It doesn't make sense doing Mambila project when there are no jobs created in the country, when there are no new skills, when there is no transfer of technology. So one of the things that we did also as PDC is to develop the local content framework, which will ensure that Nigeria has highest input, local input in terms of local resources.
That's Engineer Yusuf Rabo, Minister of Power, on the Mambila project. Babajide, ultimately, when we're looking at the timeline for these things, the Mambila, you've been there before, and when we're looking at steady power supply, how close are we to at least something that will stabilize that sector, the way we have the kind of peace of mind, like what's happening in the telecommunication sector? It's very important to the growth of everything. It's connected to everything in this country. Power supply.
Yes. One good thing is that we are experiencing some improvement. Improvement in wheeling capacity, because having recorded 5,801 megawatts, that's significant. We had never reached that level before. In fact, Under this current leadership in the power sector, we had 3 successive records of generating capacity wielded by the TCN. So it sends a good signal that that sector is experiencing some progress. Many Nigerians may not know, but it's also because they are doing a lot of good things in that ministry and they are not making enough noise. The people who are doing so little, they are the ones that their noises are deafening. So from what I see, either in terms of off-grid power and all that, they are making progress. And that progress, we want to see it sustained. And Nigerians also need to be told that, okay, this is how far we are going. There's no reason why we'll have a power ministry as powerful as that ministry is. You are making progress, you close your mouths about it. You are not talking about the progress that you are making. You are not letting the world know where you are taking us to. Because Nigerians are worried, but you can at least calm things down by letting them know that, yes, we are on a kind of upward trajectory. This is where we are headed. This is the progress that we made this month. Nigerian ministries, agencies, and parastatals, because they don't feel that responsible to the people, they don't think that they ought to tell the people from time to time what progress they are making. The people are entitled to know, and they are entitled to ask questions. I was in Abuja, and I went to the ministry. I said, look, I must speak with this minister. I sat patiently for 4 hours. People will wonder why, but because I needed to know what they were doing. I was patient for 4 hours. I sat there. And in the end, I was able to speak to him, speak to the director of renewable energy access, and I can see that progress is being made. I also met the Minister of State. I can see that progress is being made in that area. Now, the progress has to be sustained. That's what Nigerians want to see, because if the progress is sustained, we will have electricity supply that is consistent, that is reliable, and that will energize businesses, because everything is tied to power supply. Now, talking about the Mambilla power project, Mambilla hydropower project, I still think that we need more hydro plants, because when you look at a country like Brazil, they depend so much on hydro. They depend so much on hydro. We have reached a point now that the bulk of our power plants are gas-fired. I think we should be able to look at other alternative sources, and hydro is one of those sources.
That waterfall you went.
Yes, the Baru. Yes, with that is the site of the Mambilla power project. The Mambilla power project will deliver on completion 3,050 megawatts. That is almost is very close to what we are even doing. On the average, maybe we are doing, on every given day, we are doing like 4,000.
Totally.
On the average. Sometimes we do 5,000. But on the average, consistently, we can say, okay, we are doing around 4,000. So if we are to get 3,050 from one power plant,
to go a long way,
that will give you what give you more than what Egbe is giving you.
Oh, can you?
Egbe is the biggest thermal station in West Africa.
That's gas-fired.
Yes, gas-fired. But what Egbe will give you is not up to what Mambilla will give you. That is why it is important. That's why I find it important. And I'm happy now that they are reporting that they've done they are doing the
exploratory work.
Yes, the exploratory work, the area survey, the ground survey, the technical viability has been ascertained, the financial and economic viability already ascertained. Now what we need to focus on is the case that is in court, I mean the out-of-court settlement. If we can hammer out a deal, I know we can't pay the 200 million that the contractor is asking for, but we should be able to hammer out a deal so that that project can begin. Now, of course, Kashimbila, he talked about Kashimbila. The minister talked about Kashimbila. Kashimbila is literally ready. Now, contract to evacuate the power has also been awarded, and there are buildings Ungeru, and try to expand Shiroro and Kainji as well. So I believe that we are getting there gradually, but they need to talk about the things that they are doing.
GKB, how come we have investment over and over different administration? During the Goodluck administration, that sector was deregulated, balkanized, it was divided, given to different players, and people keep investing, we keep investing, but we seem not to be getting returns for our investment in this particular sector. That's the power sector, and it has been projected that it will take years of spending billions into that sector before we can get a kind of stability.
I think it's taking generation that Jide is talking about with distribution, because you have to treat the power problem on 3 levels. Once you solve the problem of generation, then you can now talk about the problem of transmission before talking about the problem of distribution.
Viewers at home.
No, you have to explain.
Don't understand your challenge.
Because the question is this.
They want to have constant power supply.
We are not generating enough to sustain the level of growth that we project. I think 10 years ago, it was projected Nigeria would need nothing less than 12,000 megawatts to really project us to 2020. Remember the days of everything by 2020. But we have not been able to. There was a time we achieved, I think, 7,000. And then the distribution cut in and all that. So, yeah, it would be wonderful if we can generate enough to solve the generation problem. They will now worry about transmission and distribution. So our people should worry less about other factors. They should worry more that once government can deliver on this, either is Mambilla, either is any other new hydro station, even coal, if you can go that route, as they do in South Africa, fine, as long as you can generate enough. And then once you've done that, you can now solve the problem of transmission, which is key to our people. Because most of the materials or equipment using for distribution now don't last in the 70s. And they're obsolete. And they need to be replaced. Even the one that goes into streets are so bad that even if we're able to generate that amount of power, we cannot distribute it effectively. And we cannot transmit it to a level that we could. So we have 3 challenges. And they must be tackled individually, but at the same time. While we are doing the generation, let us work on replacing all equipment that has to do with distribution before we worry. Our people should lay more emphasis on this is the core. Once you generate enough, then others will fall in place.
Have we done anything reasonable on transmission in the last 5 years? Have we? Because now what you've always been saying is that transmission seems to be the weak link.
Yes.
And from what you've seen so far, have you seen governments making deliberate efforts to improve the transmission company of Nigeria?
I said that at that time, based on Siemens stress reports. Some people in TCN thought I merely hated TCN, but I'm a fact-based journalist. What I said was based on a stress report that Siemens did. So it wasn't fiction, and I didn't invent it. That stress report showed that in terms of capacity, that TCN was the lowest. You know? So now we are seeing consistent investment in the grid. No doubt about it. We talked about part of that last week. There are investment in substations, new substations, and all that. They are freshening up the grid, replacing some old infrastructure, so that the more we generate, the greater the capacity of those transmission lines to carry the load that is generated. So they are working hard, and I can see even greater improvement in the years to come. Part of the goal of TCN is to even ensure that we have enough to export to our neighbors who we give electricity to, we signed an agreement with them that they will not dam the Niger River, because we are the base. So a country like Benin Republic or Niger can decide to dam the Niger River. So if they do that, we won't have enough volume of rainfall, enough volume of water for the Kainji Dam. So we are in agreement with them that we will supply them electricity. So we are the base, they will allow the water to come down to us. No, we sell to them. Okay. We sell to them, but they are owing. They are defaulters, yes, they are owing us. So, but that's better than them deciding on their own to dam. You can see the problem between Egypt and Ethiopia now, over the Nile River. Because once this person dams, and the water passes through your place too, the volume of water that will come to you will be very little, because they have already constructed the dam. So we want to be in position to be able to give them, supply them more electricity. So about 4,000 megawatts extra capacity is being added to the grid by way of new investment in transmission lines and all that. So hopefully we will get there. There is sustained improvement. For the first time since I moved into my current house in 2006, I had uninterrupted electricity for 24 hours. I've never had it that good. When my friends talk about the fact that in a month maybe they have 2 outages, I always feel like we are in the same country. But
you feel marginalized.
Before I left home, they eventually they took it. But at least I had it for the first time.
So that 24 hours
electricity supply
is strange to you.
It looks strange. I was wondering, every minute I would think they would take it. Every minute I would think they would take it. And that's how it went on like that, till the next day and until I left home.
One other aspect that we should, now our own path as Nigerians, I've noticed a very, very worrisome trend. Anytime a code distribution, a Keja distribution, all these distribution companies, when they come to check your line, your meter, or they're trying to disconnect you, it's now met with bloodbaths in most areas in Lagos.
Physical violence.
I don't understand. As in, you see officials of the power company and legitimately they want to carry out their responsibility, even to disconnect you to do anything. People will gather, the community will gather together and they will beat the person to pulp.
Even women, you see women in some videos.
Well, without trying to justify that barbaric act, and sometimes when you are pushed to the wall, especially when you know that you've done everything you're supposed to do, people tend to overreact. And I'm talking from personal experience.
In those days, we beg.
No, but you and I know, like, I'm just days aware. There's a new Nigeria after NSAS. You have to understand that.
No, this thing came before NSAS.
I'm not telling you after
everything to NSAS.
No, I'm saying that
they've been beating electricity workers long before NSAS.
Never used to be like that.
No. Before it was isolated, those were isolated cases. Now it's the norm. Because those of us that will work out to intervene in this matter are now the bad guys. Before we were the good guys. Now, like you said, not only women, even small boys now have the temerity, now have the audacity to take on agents of states. And that to me is the danger. People now do it because not only because
they want free electricity.
No, they don't want it. What they want is the fact that there is a timeline, for example, in my area, that you must pay. And everybody understand the timeline. Ours is on the 17th. So they will give you the bill maybe 10 days earlier. But these people will come to do the normal shenanigans around the 13th. That's 4 clear days before you are even due to pay.
So, because of that,
because of that, they deserve to have their
truth. Not justifying. That's what oh God. I said, why not justifying the acts? I tell you that sometimes people ought to obey the rules that they make themselves. Because like I said, and people may not believe me, Nigeria is...
If they have so many places to cover, they will probably think that, let's start it.
You say this trend is not funny again.
The law says, no, they are all
I say a woman involved in physical combat with electricity worker. I can't see a lot of things are happening in our country.
I have a female neighbor who
One how to take to his heels. All kinds of videos. Even in the north. Even in the north. I saw another video shot in the north. Maybe one day we'll find a way to bring those things together. In that video, the guy was saying that if they burn him well, let him come and touch the meter. Let him go there. And whereas even electricity theft, energy theft is so rampant in our country. You know? They too are guilty.
I know.
All right, moving on. Policy somersault is one of the impediments to our progress as Nigerians. In Ogun State, the tussle for a cargo or passenger airport has raged without much ado. But the resolution is in sight as the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA, has backed the state's cargo airport project in Ilishan, Remo. TVC News' Kazim Olowe has an update on the project.
Ogun State government has reassured residents and investors that it's committed towards completing the first phase of the Ogun Cargo Airport, approved and certified by the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority and other recognized agencies before May 2022. The governor Dapo Abiodun made this known during his visit to the airport site at Ilishan Remo in Ikenne local government area. The governor, who noted that he is not ready to join issues or make noise with anybody on projects that will boost the economy of the country, the state, and encourage individual prosperity, said the location of the airport, which has processing zone and testing center, was confirmed to be the most suitable for the project.
I look at this location. It's bound on one side by the Sagamu Expressway. It's less than about maybe half a kilometer away from here. The Lagos-Ibadan Expressway is maybe 1 kilometer away from here. Amongst other considerations, in terms of other infrastructure like gas infrastructure, there's a pipeline that runs parallel to the Sagamu Expressway, about half a kilometer away from here. The entire agro-value chain in this corridor, you have palm oil plantations, you have cashew plantations, you have rubber plantations, you have greenhouses in Sagamu. At the interchange, you have not the industries are in the interchange. I don't need to run through them. The Afrexim Bank have begun the construction of the first African International Testing Center right there at Sagamu, about another kilometer away. And that is a center where items for export will be evaluated and approved.
He noted that he's impressed with the level of work done on the 2.4 kilometer access road that will lead to the 3.4 kilometer runway.
More importantly, we bidded for the African Finance Development Bank Special Agro Processing Zone. And in that bid document, we chose this location, this airport location, which is about 5,000 hectares, to co-locate the SA processing zone here. Because of that, we now rename this place an Aerotropolis, meaning an airport city. As a matter of fact, in line with our plans, this airport, the first phase of it will be completed by May 2022, by the grace of God.
The airport project is being constructed on 500 hectares land size with provision for companies and industries to package and export their finished products in order to boost the economy of the country. Kazim Olowe, TVC News, Ilishan.
Actually, Ogun State we have a cargo airport at Ilishan Remo, Ogun State, and that's the Jebu axis of Ogun State. Now, what are the advantages of this cargo airports?
You see, I've spoken to people before about the need for this kind of project. This kind of project is similar to what you have in other countries, what is called Aerotropolis. Aerotropolis set up in rural areas, rural communities where some farm produce are produced and then exported from that point. So those Aerotropolis are like international airports in rural communities. For example, You know that.
Trying to open up that area.
The place they try to export, you know, trying to export from multiple outlets. Now, look at a country like Ethiopia. Ethiopia exports flowers to countries of the West, Europe and America. And you know, flower, you cannot keep flower for so long. So as the flowers are plucked, they are then taken to the airport, close to the location, close to the farm, and then exported. There's no reason, for example, where in Mambilla, for example, where we have a tea company, Island Tea, excellent green tea, excellent tea. There should be an airport there, something like this. All the testing facilities should be present. And then from there, yes, you can export. If we can have this Aerotropolis, look at Kano, for example. We have a long tomato belt. If we have this Aerotropolis, we have cargo airport located not far away from that area. Fresh tomatoes can be exported to Europe and America from that area. And I'm happy that Ogun State government is proceeding with this, because with this now, at least companies will have their offices not far from this complex, and they can export their products from that location. Because the governor is talking about testing site, that they will have testing sites located within the So 5,000 hectares of land are significant, and with a 3.4 kilometer runway. Yes, no, that means it will be easier to access it. So with 3.4 kilometer runway, I think it's significant.
GKB, one other thing is that a lot of people, they would look at states, they initiate this project, but later we look at the capacity of those states or the initiator to complete the project. The governor said 2022 expected to finish the first phase of it. But you know, because of cash crunch that we're experiencing in the country right now, so a lot of people will feel that, look, most of this project, it will be abandoned. And Rauf Aregbesola actually initiated a cargo airport in Osun State before he left. But I don't know the state of that airport right now. So it's not just citing the thing, starting, but your ability to be able to see it through.
Well, like Gideon said, most of these airports are not meant to be grand. I think that's the mistake we make generally when we try to just oppose what they are. We tend to look at them as international airports. Well, you and I know that.
Should just be something small.
Something basic. Not something grandiose. Nobody's asking them to
just
do
the basic facilities.
Too expensive. That you need to do and do it. The airport in Sao Tome cannot even be compared to the Accra airport. But they have a very high volume. People coming from Portugal and all that. But because they realized that what they needed was a very good runway. And then they can move it from there. So what we need to do is not to do the grandiose parts. Let's concentrate on the runway, on the testing grounds, basic things that they need.
Basic infrastructure.
Any other thing can be gotten in Lagos or Ibadan or Sagamu.
And just quickly, I'm happy that the controversy itself has been resolved, because the former governor, who refused to continue with this project after I took over from Otumba Gbenga, wanted a different site for a passenger airport. But the NCAA, the approving authority, has said this is the airport project that they approve. So that was good news for a cargo airport. The approval they have for an airport in that state is for a cargo airport, and it is for this location. So it's good news for Otumba, for Prince Dapo Abiodun. At least he can focus now. Yes, he can focus on the project.
The former governor also said that the WASCB project was a federal government project. So there's really a confusion.
But we'll see.
Where the thing is coming from.
We shall see.
Okay. Joining us via Skype is Ogun State Commissioner for Finance, Dapo Okubadejo. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I want you to tell us about this cargo airport located at Ileshan Remo in Ogun State.
All right, thank you so much. I've been enjoying your discussions thus far. Just like it's been widely publicized, this airport was actually conceived during the penultimate administration of Otumagbenga Daniel, and around about 2007, a lot of the preparatory work for the airport had actually been done as far back as that time. You know definitely quite well that having a project of this nature or of this scale would typically require a lot of work, technical work, geotechnical assessment, air control impact assessment, groundwater modeling, environmental impact assessment, the design, and also to ensure that the airport is commercially viable. It is critical that the project promoters, the Ogun State government at the time, also had conducted what is referred to as a pre-feasibility studies, which had shown that the business case for this particular facility will be an international cargo airport. Now, why cargo airport? You know, we're very close to Lagos, that has an international airport. Ogun State, with about 16,700 square kilometers, has almost 74% of it being agrarian, which means that our soil conditions is actually very, very favorable to agriculture. That's number one. Number two, because, you know, Ogun State is so strategically located by virtue of proximity to Lagos, and also is referred to as the gateway because our significant competitive and comparative advantages is largely in the logistics value chain that Ogun State has. One of the busiest highways in this country, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, is in Ogun State. And so with these two factors in mind, it was decided that it was going to be a cargo airport, which will be the first purpose-built cargo airport in this part of Nigeria, particularly in Ogun State, where when you look at the agricultural value chain in Ogun State and even in Nigeria, and to reposition Ogun State for massive industrialization and take advantage of the recently executed Africa Continental Free Trade Zone, it is very, very important that Nigeria takes advantage of this by being very, very competitive and also begin to add value for exports. And this is where this airport actually comes into play. So you look at that, you look at the location itself. You know, you have the Lagos-Ibadan, the Sagamu-Benin, and there are other two important road networks that are very close to this airport as well. The Ikorodu-Sagamu is actually also another route. And also you have the Epe-Ijebu road. You know, one of the most important factors for the establishment of airports, especially cargo airports, is accessibility, and evacuation is so critical. That location itself is also right bang in the middle of Ogun State that connects the three senatorial districts together, and is right also very close to the cash crop plantations that we have in Ogun State as well. You know, the oil palm plantations, the cashew plantations, the rubber plantations. And so when you look at that and you look at the proliferation of industries that are springing up in that area, you can't have a better location than that. And now, even from what we consider to be the business case as well, you know, during this administration, we were met with two of these projects. One was a passenger airport, and this one was a cargo airport. And an interministerial committee was actually established to look at the two and to reevaluate the business case of these two airports. One of the things also we did was a strategic transport intervention plan, STIP, strategic transport intervention plan, which basically comes up with the initiatives around how Ogun State can leverage on its competitive and comparative advantage, being a gateway state. And so he was decided, and even from that plan, even that plan was actually done by an external consultant as well. In addition to the interministerial committee that was set up, we found out that this airport was going to be the best, and that's how we essentially embarked on it. Finally, in line with our economic development agenda, it is very critical that as we aim to position Ogun State as the fastest growing economy in Nigeria, it is critical that industrialization is a key part of it. We're already the industrial hub of this country, but a lot of the hubs that have recently been opened were not properly planned, and that's why there are issues with baseline infrastructure in most of these locations. And so we have recently created some economic development clusters where we will have a one-stop shop where industrial and economic activities can happen. And so the location of this airport as well is central to all the economic development clusters that were recently created, from the Jebu Economic Development Cluster to Remo Economic Development Cluster to Magboro Economic Development Cluster to Abeokuta Economic Development Cluster. And the concept of Aerotropolis is one in which you have the airport itself as the anchor project, where we also have other support facilities in a very, very big expanse of land, 5,000 hectares. What you really need for an airport is actually between 500 to 800 hectares. But with all these support facilities, especially logistics and distribution hub, which is so important for evacuation purposes in Ogun State, where you have all these logistic companies, with warehouses, even fast-moving consumer goods, and a lot of industry springing up in the area. We use this location as well as a warehouse and logistics hub and distribution hub. Okay. In addition to quite a lot of the facilities that we have there as well. So that's why we are very, very excited about this facility, and it's one in which we want to develop in phases, so that and the first phase is going to focus on the functional cargo airport, and obviously a project of this nature, and in line with our economic goal,
Mr. Okubadejo,
public-private.
Let me just pause you there. I want to pay these bills. When we come back, we'll talk more. Please stay with us. All right, welcome back. It's still Journalist Hangout on Sunday, and we have the Honorable Commissioner for Finance, Mr. Dakpo Okubadejo, on the line via Skype. And finally, the controversy between the cargo airport and the passengers airport, has it been laid to rest?
The one in Wasime or the one?
Yeah, I mean, just like I mentioned earlier, the process for the continuation of this project actually started much earlier. But during the Senate Committee on Aviation's visit to the state, it was clear that there was actually some interest in this facility. And so there was a hearing that was done, and you will recall that this is the only airport in Ogun State that has both the Federal Ministry of Aviation and also the NCAA's approval as far back as 2008. So, and it was unequivocally pointed out at that particular hearing at the Senate chambers that the only recognized airport project in the state by the regulator that's been saddled with the responsibility of ensuring development of and the standardization of airport projects is NCAA. And so the only...
Okay. That's the Commissioner for Finance, Dakpo Okubadejo, on the cargo airport located at Ilishan, Bremo. And finally, on today's show, the Southeast, South-South regions of Nigeria are poised for war over the 2023 presidency, following recommendations by the People's Democratic Party, PDP, panel that the party's 2023 presidential tickets should be open to all geopolitical zones. The Southeast and the South-South have insisted that the Southerner must replace President Muhammadu Buhari in 2023. Yes, this has been a very, very controversial issue, Babajide. Yeah. PDP, the People's Democratic Party, the major opposition party, they are looking at the body language of the APC on what they will do ahead of 2023. And you know, in 2015, the APC, they were all watching the moves of the People's Democratic Party, all the mistakes and the steps they were taking, and APC cashed in on it, and they were able to win the presidential ticket in 2015. Right now, the matter of zoning. Now, this committee is saying that although the National Working Committee of the PDP, they are yet to ratify the report, but it's proposing that it should be thrown open. And a lot of people are saying that that will be violating the gentleman's agreement within the People's Democratic Party since 1999. That there's always been this rotational thing within the party.
You know, my own attitude to this is to simply wait to see what happens at the convention of the party. At the convention of the party, we want to see who emerges as the national chairman. Because the PDP tradition has always been that if the chairman comes from the south, then the north will produce the president.
Yes.
Remember when Goodluck Jonathan was seeking a second term, and Nwodo was chairman of the party. When it became clear that the party would give Jonathan another shake of the dice, they had to, on the eve of the convention, because Nwodo had been preparing for the convention, but on the eve of the convention, before the convention officially kicked off, Nwodo had to step down. So that someone from the north can then take
balance.
Yes. So they've never failed to do that. Obasanjo was president. We had Amadu Ali. We've not, and they had Adu Ogbetu. We've always tried to find that balance, especially in an election year. It's crucial. You can't have both the
chairman,
national chairman of the party, and the the candidate of the party in the presidential election from the same region. That's not going to work. So I'm looking at their next convention. At their next convention, we'll be able to see signs whether the PDP indeed plans to field a northern candidate. Although the way I also see this thing, every party wants to win an election. And I want to believe that even the PDP now is far more determined to win now than before. The fact that they've been able to narrow the gap in terms of number of states that they control, as against the states that the APC controls, is emblematic of their determination to win the 2023 election. You know, we said it back then that, look, this last election, PDP won more states. They won more states, which shows that, yes, the party is waxing stronger. Defections may appear to show that, oh, some people are leaving. But the number of states that you control, they are very crucial. They are a big factor in winning an election because all elections are local. If you can retain your state, then you give your candidate a big chance of doing well in the election. And now, what the PDP has achieved right now is a situation in which they have a governor, at least in each of the geopolitical zones. Before now, it was not like that. But you have a situation in which they now have a governor in each of the geopolitical zones. Southwest, huh? Of course. Then, of course, Zamfara has enabled them to have a state of their own in the Northwest. So, their victory through the courts in Zamfara has enabled them to have that. Then, of course, they gained Edo in the South, which means that they successfully made it a clean sweep in the South. APC. Yeah?
Okay, Southeast.
South. Talking about South. APC won Bayelsa, but they lost it through the courts. So, back to square one, so to say. So, I think that when they see because even the APC as we speak, I've spoken to governors, I've spoken to some big individuals in the party, even the APC, there's nothing ruled out. There's nothing ruled in as we speak. Yes, it's a moral issue for most people that, look, the North should not produce the next presidential candidate of the APC. That if the North does that, then it means the North has gone for third term. I've heard people say that lately, even the governor of Katsina said so. We've heard the governor of Kaduna say so, that they should go to the South this time. We've heard the governor of Kano say that earlier, although the last time I interviewed him, he didn't really commit himself. We've had other people say this time around, in the interest of our unity, the North should not show that it is overly interested in power. But no one can say with finality that even the APC is going to zone it to the South this time. The truth is, this is not enshrined in the constitution of either of those parties. So the party leadership and all stakeholders must still come together and say, okay, this is what we want. So no one knows, but
looking at the dynamics of this thing, and you want to see that if you look at PDP since 1999, they've been respecting the rotational thing, and the time President Goodluck Jonathan tried to contest in 2015, that the former governor of Niger State, Daliu Babangida, was telling him that, look, you are going to be going against the gentleman agreement that we all had. And look, we're giving you the first and second time, it's completed the time of Yaradua, that in 2015, that means you want to stretch it, that this is not good enough. Now, what do you see to this arrangement or merit? We know that these are the two dominant political parties, and any of the two can produce the next president.
Well, you have to understand that the situation in 1999 no longer holds sway 20 years later. But that should not be a reason why something that has worked. Americans will say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The rotational thing has worked extensively, especially within the PDP. Though you and I know that the ideas, because the rotational thing was supposed to go down from federal to state to local governments. where one person produce commissioner, another produce senator and all that. Most of that has been observed in the preach. But I think what the PDP is doing is the right political move right now. Because the best thing to do as an opposition party right now is to wait for the ruling party to shoot itself in the foot. Because I know that deep down, they must have made up their mind where they are going to swing the presidential tickets. But I know they're not going to do that until they are sure where APC is going to pitch its tent. And that to me is a very good political move. You don't play your cards in the open. And I'm sure even on the day of the convention, they will still wait for the feelers that they think APC will project for coming to a final conclusion. I agree that the Southeast and South-South have the right to feel shortchanged in these arguments because they've been totally dedicated to the party throughout the last 20 years. They've never wavered. And it's only fair that they get what they want. Though they themselves do not hold the moral high ground when it comes to that. Because just a few years ago, the same party zoned the chairmanship to a particular zone, and they were muzzled out of it by the same two zones. So it's dog eat dog, and they don't have the moral right really. I agree that they have the moral arguments, but they've not shown the moral fiber to say that they've been exemplary in this particular matter.
Okay, I have Vice Cap, Mr. Eddie Olafeso. Eddie Olafeso used to be a commissioner under former Governor Olusegun Agagu and chieftain of the People's Democratic Party from Akure in Ondo State, Chief Eddie Olafeso. Thank you for staying with us, sir.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
All right.
Let's talk about your party, sir.
I was the National Vice Chairman Southwest till May 29th, 2020, when I resigned my position to contest for the governorship of Ondo State.
The Bala Mohammed report that has just been released. How sturdy, how united is the PDP at this time in the light of the complaints that some segments of the party have made about this report?
The truth is that managing the party is a process. And what we have done is to look a little backwards to see what we have done in the past that might be an impediment to our unity, the prospect of winning back the federal government in 2023. So looking back at it and a report being submitted, there will be adequate time to study and be able to come up with what we think might be a view to improving on those things that Bala Mohammed must have put in place. Even myself, I've not been able to read it in full, but I'm sure that it's going to be a guide for the party to take a decision for the future. And mark my word, like I said, managing the party is a process, and we are in the process of ensuring that we do things better than we have done it before. And it begins with discussion, it begins with looking at what we did and how to improve on it, and how to see that things are not done in such a way that will lead to the kind of result we got in 2019. So for me, it's a step forward from where we were in 2019.
Bala Mohammed also said that the PDP won the presidential election in 2019, but that it was manipulated by the security agencies and the INEC. Where do you stand on this matter?
For sure, we are all living witness to history of that presidential election, and we saw what happened in the process of our quest to secure justice through the courts of the land. But the way it is in any third world country, there were certain things that were not proved beyond reasonable doubt, and at the same time, decisions were taken. It is so embarrassing what the Supreme Court did, and we have taken it in its stride because there is no system. No system is perfect. And in our own situation as Democrats, when we have taken it to that level, we have no choice than to say, okay, let's prepare ourselves for the future. I believe totally that Governor Bala Mohammed was right about his conclusions, because we're living witnesses to what happened across the country, and we believed that in places like Kano, where votes were just being manufactured without any recourse to voters registration, and the total number of people that I just cited in a state, not to talk of the other places where violence, manipulation, outright disregard for the electoral process took place. For us to have said that is to alert Nigerians that if it happens in 2023, it will not augur well for this nation. Unfortunately, if APC actually knew what they were fighting for, manipulated the process to take over power, and did not run the country aground the way it is, a lot of people might be able to forgive their intransigencies. But they took power and they didn't know what to do with it. They cannot secure the land. The economy is in shambles. Unemployment is over 40%. Nothing is working. Security is dead. It started northeast. Now is all over the country. The southwest is bilingual. For us, there are lessons we have to learn, and we're preparing ourselves for whatever they may want to bring, in the 2023. The kind of despotic leadership they have provided for Nigeria is something that must be fought, by all, because this country belongs to all of us.
Let's talk about your party still.
Now,
when one of the reasons your party is unable to win elections when it matters most is the constant defection by some of its leading lights. 2023 will seem far away, but your people are already jumping ship. How do you win an election when your party members can't even sit in one place? Your party members are always out to join the APC, to strengthen the APC. You are not disciplined enough to stay in one party and work for the progress of that party. Always jumping to the APC. So how do you then stop the APC from winning when your members who should actually be fighting for you are in bed with the ruling party?
Well, they told you that's a fact. The political class in itself is inept. And that's the reason why some of the problems we have in Nigeria still exist. Believe me, if you're not convinced, adequately by the party you're in and the programs and the vision enunciated by the party, then you're completely useless. For me, majority of our leaders are still consistent in what they're trying to do. We've seen that experience, and let me tell you, it's not one party alone. And some people are migrating from APC, so some are equally migrating from PDP to APC. So it's something that is so shameful, and it's something that most of these people, doing it should be punished in the future. Look, if the parties are serious, there are sections of our constitution that addresses a situation when somebody just jumps the ship. But we're not serious enough to ensure that discipline is effectively managed, and people that get themselves involved in such things are actually benched. If you don't bench such a character, it will give encouragement for others to continue to do it. But let me tell you something, this is going to be different. The bottom is of our bucket. The country is dying, if not dead. We're a banana republic. We are the third, most unemployed nation in Africa. Apart from South Africa and Namibia, you're taking, the highest rank in terms of all the negative indices of economic development. What other things are you going to, what other things are you waiting for to say it's about time we change, the pattern of leadership? And for us, I think you've heard about the reconciliation and the strategy. 1 minute, sir. Okay. What I'm saying is that you've heard about the Reconciliation and Strategic Committee of the former Senate President Bukola Saraki, and the effort they are making across the country is reevaluating our circumstances and situation with a view of bringing the utmost best to contest, in the 2023 election. We owe it to our party and to the entire nation to do it right. Things have gone so bad that it cannot be expressed in just these few minutes we're going to share on this program. But for asking us, I just want to let you know, and that's the reason why many of us are making effort, that the party must be managed by competent, qualified people,
Mr.
fearless and bold.
Mr. Professor, finally, will it not amount to a kind of double standard if your party is now saying the presidential ticket should be thrown open, what the Bauchi State governor recommended, his recommendation. We know your party chose Olusegun Obasanjo in 1999, and in 2007 they chose Yaradua from the north, Obasanjo from the south, and they went back to the south at a point in time, and in 2019 they now went to the north. So if they are saying it's going to be an all-comers affairs now, will it not amount to a kind of double standard?
Well, what is a double standard? That's exactly what I'm trying to explain to you. What he said that the ticket should be thrown open is the fact that let's see those that are coming. There must be fairness, there must be equity, there must consideration for the very sensitive geopolitical management of this country since 1960 and its inability to bring about unity and cohesion in the country. And those are the factors that will come about producing a president for a party. Just because of geography, we must not ignore the other factors. So if they say thrown open at this moment, is let's see who is coming out from where, and let us see how best we can manage those that are coming out and begin to match characters with exactly the challenges that the country is facing. As far as I'm concerned, I think it's not double standard, and allow us to take certain decisions, because in the final analysis you will judge us, and eventually you're going to be the ones to vote for whichever candidate we bring up. But let me tell you, if you localize your candidacy at this moment, and then suddenly somebody from a geopolitical zone comes out that is not as competent, as capable, and quite a person of integrity, then he's going to leave you very vulnerable in that election. To me, that's exactly the issue. And leaders across the nation will begin to talk about this gradually, and I can tell you we're going to do better than we did in 2019.
I'll thank you, Mr. Eddie Olafeso. Thank you for that interesting one.
Sir, I have a PhD.
Babajid, now I remember he was the commissioner. He was the...
You're right.
Say doctor.
Dr. Eddie Olafeso.
All right.
PhD.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
He was Commissioner for Information under the Agagu government in Ondo State. It's always nice talking with Eddie Olafeso.
No, it's a good interview material.
So, Jide, I think the two political parties will be watching who blinks first,
and I think
to choose.
That
they don't want to put the cards.
I think that if we are to tell ourselves the truth, it's a bit too early. 2 years from an election, it's a bit too early to even
show your hand.
Yes,
show your hand where you are going to,
and even give an indication of where you are headed. I don't think this is the right time. Maybe after their convention, because even after that convention, yes, that will be less than 2 years to the election, and they're supposed to have a 2-year term in the first instance. So, I think it's a bit too early. In the fullness of time, we will see where both parties are headed, the two dominant parties. I think it's a bit too early at this time, but let's see what happens. The people of the southeast, the people of the southwest in the PDP, they must still continue to apply the pressure and say, look, it is our turn. Hopefully, they will get the success.
GKB, you trust our politicians. They are counting down already. It is 798 days to the end of the the expiration of the term of President Muhammadu Buhari. They are even telling you that he has spent over 2,000 and something days, that they started their countdown and the permutation is on.
They can't wait.
The tragedy of politics is the fact that politicians are always campaigning. Most people, the moment the election ends, they started campaigning for the next one.
Yes, sir.
So as far as they are concerned, governance is an hindrance towards their campaigning. They come to power to keep power. They don't come to power to serve, which is unfortunate. But having said that, I think what Jide said is exactly what I said earlier, that we must understand that this is not the time to be knocking our head against the wall about who or what will emerge in 2 years. So many factors will still come into place.
Anything can happen.
For example, things will happen that will even change the entire complexion of the race that we are not even aware of. And that to me is why we as analysts always put the caveats that things are based on Saturday paribus. all things being equal.
Okay, GKB, Osiare Nokakanfo. Trust you are taking us to Are's house in Normally Estate.
We are going to enjoy the full benefits.
And if Are is watching us, so that
I don't know why I should be in the presence of a ballet and still be worrying about.
You know, I'm a ballet without beats. Without beats, you go around with your own beats, and we have not complained. We have not relieved you of one of those beats.
You can try. You don't succeed, but you can try.
I want to thank everybody that contributed to the program today, from the Commissioner for Finance in Ogun State, and then to that's Dapo Okubadejo and Dr. Ediolafeso, that's the chieftain of the People's Democratic Party from Ondo State. Thank you for your contribution. I want to thank viewers at home too for staying in the last 120 minutes to watch the Sunday edition of Journalist Hangouts. And that's our offering today. We're also on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Don't forget our regular Journalist Hangouts for 5 p.m. tomorrow, Mondays to Friday. I'm Ayodele Ozubaku. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.